I adore Chelsea. I love how when you meet her, she's this fully formed person with a personality that's all her own. However, we don't really know a lot about her besides the fact that she was a yoga teacher. She's from Manchester. There's a brother. Who do you think she was before she landed in Rick's orbit?
Well, it's so interesting that you bring that up, because I've been thinking a lot about how much of a deflector Chelsea is. Because she's very one finger pointing, three pointing back with Rick. She's like, you're so mysterious. You're so hard to read. And actually, she is very guarded and a mystery herself. And, you know, she does a lot of kind of finding her identity through external means, i.e. Rick, astrology, enneagrams. So I think that while it's interesting, she's an interesting kind of contradiction, because she does seem like this free spirit, but she's also stubbornly living under this mindset that everything's written and everything's fated and everything's determined. So it's like she's free whilst also being incredibly kind of stubborn about this fated written existence that she doesn't have a choice in. It's like, I don't have a choice here. Rick's my soulmate. There's no choice, which is very similar to Rick. Rick feels like he can't help what's happening. He doesn't have any choice. He doesn't have any free will. His life was written out for him by this fateful event that occurred when he was a baby. And so they are actually quite similar in that way. And so I think she's a real bundle of contradictions. I think she's very herself whilst also being incredibly not fully realised in her own. You know, she's very much kind of taken it on. Her life's mission is him.
Yeah.
And I think that is what a lot of anxious attached people do, but it's actually incredibly avoidant. Yeah. Because it means that you don't actually have to look at your own stuff. And, you know, I've been saying a lot today, intimacy is into me see. And she likes to be the seer, but she doesn't particularly like being seen. So I've got a whole kind of backstory for Chelsea that I also kept very secret, because I think that Mike wants her to feel like this kind of ethereal thing that's just turned up. You know, and I think that she's incredibly smart in the way that she makes out like she's very vulnerable and honest and revealing herself at all times, but she's not.
One thing I thought that was really interesting about Chelsea and Rick is that despite all the hedonism around them, neither of them have cheated on each other throughout this week. What do you make of that, and do you think it says something about their connection?
I think they're incredibly loyal to each other. I think that's part of their problem in a way. It's like something that's incredibly beautiful in one way and romantic, but also on the flip side of that is again this bound thing that I wonder if Chelsea did believe in free will and in choice, whether, you know, she would choose this life for herself of kind of wanting to rescue. She's got a massive rescue complex, fantasy thing going on. But I think Rick really does. I think a lot about Esther Perel's talking about splitting the ambivalence. So what a lot of couples do is one person takes up one side of utter certainty and it pushes the other person to be utterly doubtful, and actually most of the time we're somewhere in the middle. And I think Rick and Chelsea are actually in reality somewhere in the middle. I think he really quite loves her, and I think she probably has a healthy amount of doubt, but both of them are acting out the extremes, and they kind of need to meet in the middle. And I think that, you know, actions speak louder than words, and they don't cheat on each other, they don't stray, because there is something real there, but they are kind of playing out a power dynamic, and I think that they just need to find each other in the middle.
I was in the preview for the finale, and I noticed that there's a couple interesting shots. Like, one, you kind of look more worried than you have all season, and he looks happier than he's been all season.
I love you.
Please don't do something stupid.
I'm gonna be okay.
And it made me think of last week, the yin and the yang and kind of turmoil. Is there now going to be a flip in that kind of tonal relationship between Rick and Chelsea now that he's found this zen?
Well, exactly. This is the thing. It's like the two sides of the coin. It's like hope and pain. And so, yeah, in those kinds of relationships where it is so kind of, you know, black and white, it does flip. And I think that, yeah, when Rick is hopeful, Chelsea has to take up the pain quota. So there is a kind of flipping around that is too extreme, and they need to just kind of find the nuance and the middle ground and the grey. But yeah, I mean, a lot happens in 8. A lot happens. It's 90 minutes long, and there's still so much story left.
Yeah.
And I think that Chelsea and Rick's, you know, it's going to surprise people. I'm your soulmate, Rick.
How can you be my soulmate? Our signs aren't even compatible.
There's a really funny moment where Rick is like, well, we're not compatible because you're an Aries and I'm a Scorpio. Do you intuit that there's some kind of placements on their charts that kind of do overlap? 100%. And what do you think they are?
So I'm a Scorpio moon in real life, and I relate to Chelsea so much that I thought she must be a Scorpio moon. So in my head, she is a Scorpio moon. And a Pisces rising. So I think that she can come across like she's kind of dreamy and sweet, and then she's there with just the fire of like, you're bald, you're soulless, you're this. It's like she's actually incredibly honest, and that's her Aries coming out. So, but I think she seems watery, and then she just burns. And so, but I do think that the Scorpio moon with Rick's Scorpio sun is the soul tie. It's the sun and the moon bond, and that can also, it's amazing, but it can also be really incredibly intense and too intense.
Yeah. How do you personally feel about where Rick and Chelsea's story ends?
I feel conflicted. I felt very at peace with it while I was doing it, and then as time's gone on and I've processed it, I've become, the feelings have got more complicated. So I think because I had Chelsea goggles on, everything was actually in a way simpler, because I just had to fully invest in her frame of mind, which is incredibly tunnel vision. And then since having separation from her, I'm like, oh, well, wait a sec, and I'm seeing things more clearly, and I feel now conflicted, and I think that everyone's going to feel it's quite controversial.
When Jason Isaac was here, he told us it was very profound, and he thought it was kind of maybe darker than past seasons. Would you agree with that?
I think it is. I think it's really profound, and I think it's actually a lot more emotional and sad than others have been. I think there's some scenes in 8 that I just think are so tender, and so that Mike's kind of showing his more, you know, sensitive, tender side, and yeah, there's some real hits you in the feels. Like, I feel like a lot of the kind of final episodes of White Lotus tend to have these, you know, it's so exciting, but there's a new layer of kind of, I don't know, just sensitivity and profundity.